Welcome back to On the Same Page. We are on Daf Gimel Amud Beis, 3b of Maseches Megillah, and we are starting from the very end of Gimel Amud Beis, the last two words where it says Ve'amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. So since we had quoted one idea from Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, so actually more than one, now we continue to quote further ideas. So says Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, top of Daf Dalar Amud Aleph 4a now, Lud ve'ono v'gai harashim These three cities, Lud, Ono, and Geach Harashim, they were all surrounded by walls since the days of Yeshua ben Nun, and therefore they would read on the 15th of Adar. Ask the Gemara, is that true? Vahani Yehoshua Banini? Did Yoshua build those cities? Veha Alfael Banani. Alfael, who came later, he's the one who built them. And they were not surrounded by walls from the days of Yeshua ben Nun. How do we know Alfael built them? Dichsiv, because the pasuk says in Divrei Hayamim, it says, Uvnei Alfael, the children of Alfael were Aver Umisham Vashemed, Vashemed, who bana es Ono ve'es Lud, Uvnosea. He, meaning Alfael, built Ono and Lud and the surrounding areas. So how could we say that Yeshua ben Nun built them, or that they were walled in the days of Yeshua ben Nun? It seems they were only built later in the days of Alfael. Alfael was, as we'll see, descended from the tribe of Binyamin, and lived at some point later. So it seems that he's the one who built them. Ask the Gemara v'l'taimech, but according to your reasoning, Asa banini. It was Asa who built them. King Asa, who came later, he was one of the kings of Yehuda. So didn't he build them? Because it says, D'chsiv, Vayiven, and our Gemara quotes, Vayiven Asas Are HaBetzuras Asher Yehuda. There's some question as to what the correct pasuk is. It seems that pasuk doesn't actually exist. But there's a pasuk that says, Vayiven Are Metzura Yehuda. He built these cities in Yehuda, and even though we're talking about cities that were in the areas of Binyamin, but Yehuda ruled over them, and he built up the cities of Binyamin, and there it mentioned certain cities, and so it seems that he's the one who built them. So who built them? So the Gemara says, Amar Rebbe Lazar. Rebbe Lazar explains all of these can be true at once. Hani mukafos chama miyos Yeshua ben Nun. Really, they were walled from the days of Yeshua ben Nun, which was the original statement of Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, and therefore they read on the 15th. What happened? Charuv bimei pilagish begivah. They got destroyed in the days of the pilagish begivah, the concubine of Givah. In that episode, the cities of Binyamin were demolished by the other tribes, and again, there's a question as to when the story of the Pilagish Begivah happened. Did it happen at the beginning of Sefer Shoftim, or at the end? The chapter appears at the end, but there's a question as to exactly when it happened. But either way, it's after the times of Yoshua. So Yoshua built them. They got destroyed in the days of the Pilagish Begivah. Va'asa Alfael banani, and then this person Alfael, this descendant of Binyamin, came and rebuilt them. Hadar info, but then they fell again. They fell down. They didn't last. Asa shaftina. So Asa came and strengthened them, and that's what it says that that he strengthened the wall, the cities that were there. Fine. Dekanami, this can in fact be inferred. Dichsiv, Vayamer Yehuda, Nivna es ha'arim ha'ela. It says regarding Asa that he said to the people of Yehuda, let us build these cities. Meaning, Michal da'arim havu meikara. Implying that he was saying, let us build these cities that were already there. Shma mina, so we can learn from there that what he really was doing was rebuilding or strengthening cities that already exist. So it's So it follows that these were already there, and it's as we said, they were built by Yoshua. They got destroyed in the episode of the Pelagish Megillah. They were rebuilt by Alphil, and then they fell down, and then they were strengthened by Asa. Ve'amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, and Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi said further, Nashim chayavos b'mikra Megillah. Women are obligated in the reading of the Megillah to hear the Megillah, even though generally women are exempt from time-bound mitzvahs, and the mitzvah of Megillah, which is only on Purim, is a time-bound mitzvah, but this they are obligated. And why? Sha'af hein hayu ba'osanes, because they were part of the miracle. Since they were also it wasn't just the men that were going to be annihilated, it was the men, women, and children. So since women were part of the miracle, so they also have an obligation to hear the Megillah. V'am Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, and Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi said further, Purim shechal yos b'Shabbos, if Purim falls out on Shabbos, sha'alin v'darshin binyano shel yom. We ask and we teach ideas relating to Purim on that day. Ask the Gemara, Ma'ir Purim, why are you specifying Purim? Afilu Yom Tov Nami. Every Yom Tov, that's what we do on the Yom Tov. D'Tanya, as we learning a brisa, Moshe Tiking Lemel Yisrael, Moshe established for the Jewish people, Sh'yushalim v'darshim v'yom shel yom, that you're supposed to ask and teach regarding that special day. Hilchos Pesach b'Pesach, the laws of Pesach on Pesach, Hilchos Ataris b'Ataris, the laws of Shavuos on Shavuos, Hilchos Chag b'Chag, and the laws of Sukkos on Sukkos. So that's what we do when it's a holiday. We learn about that holiday. So what was Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi pointing out when he said that if Purim falls out on Shabbos, we should learn about Purim. We should learn about Purim whatever day Purim falls out, and it's like any other holiday. So the Gemara explains Purim it's Trichale. Now he specifically had to say that it's even true for Purim when it falls out on Shabbos. Because Ma'od Tema Nigzer Mishum Derabba. I might have thought we should make a gezerah we should make a decree similar to that of Rabbah, Kamash Malan, that's why he came to teach me that we don't. What are we talking about here? So, as you're probably aware, we don't read the Megillah if Purim falls out on Shabbos. Now, the way our calendar is set up, it can't fall out on Shabbos, at least outside of Yerushalayim. But it used to be that it could, and it still could in Yerushalayim, and we don't read the Megillah on Shabbos. Why not? So Rabbah said that we're afraid somebody might carry the Megillah in a public domain, which is forbidden on Shabbos, so we just don't read it on Shabbos, we defer it. So you might have thought, says the Gemara, that the same should be true with regards to learning about Purim on Shabbos, because somebody might carry their sefer or something. So Kamash Malan, that's where Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi was coming to teach us that no, we can still teach about Purim if Purim falls out on Shabbos. Ve'am Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, and Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi said further, Chayev Adam Likros Megillah Balayla V'lishnosa Bayam. A person is obligated to read the Megillah at night and then to repeat it in the daytime. So we read the Megillah both by night and by day of Purim. Shenamar, as it says in the Pasuk in Tehillim, chapter 22, it says, Elokai ekra yomam, my God, I will read at night, velo sanet, or I call out at night and you don't answer, velayla, and at night, velo dumiali, and you're not silent to me, or I don't have silence. But the Gemara is darshaning, the Gemara is learning out. First of all, this chapter is chapter 22. It's Lamnatzech La'ayeles HaShachar, which the Gemara learns out is a prophecy, has to do with the story of Purim, and it's going to come up again in this Masechta. And there it says, Ekra Yomam, I read by day, V'layla v'lo dumuyali, and at night, I'm not silent. So again, this chapter is talking about the story of Purim. It says, I read about it, and I'm not in day, and I'm not silent by night. So the main reading is during the day, but we're also not silent by night. We also read at night. Now, the Gemara says the students, Savar Mina, the students, when they heard this, they thought that he meant that you read it at night, and you just learn the halachos, the Mishnah about it during the daytime. Why did they think that? Because the way that he said it was, you have to read at night, v'lishnosa bayom, and to shona it in the day. They thought he meant shona like from the word Mishnah, you should learn about it in the day. But the word shona also means to repeat it. So they thought he meant you should read it at night and then learn about it during the day. So Amar Luhu Rabbi Yirmiyah said to them, it was explained to me from Rabbi Chia bar Abba that what's this language v'lishnosa? It's kigon da amri inshi. It's like people say evor parsha sada v'esnaya. I'll learn this parsha v'esnaya, and then I'll do it a second time. It doesn't mean I'll learn it. I'll learn this parsha. I'll pass over this parsha. Meaning I'll read through this parsha and then learn it. It means I'll read through this parsha and repeat it. So lishanos could mean to repeat, and that's what he meant. He meant that you read the Megillah at night and then you repeat it again in the day. Itmar Nami was also stated, Amar Rabbi Chelbo, Amar Ula. Rabbi Chelbo says the name of Ula, Ula Bira. Chayav, that was where he was from. He was from Biri, Rashi says. Ula Bira. Chayav Adam Likros is HaMegillah B'layla Lishnosa Bayam. A person is obligated to read the Megillah at night and then to repeat it again in the daytime. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, now he quotes a different pasuk from a different chapter and tells him this is from Parak Lamed, chapter 30, which is also learned darshan to talk about the story of Purim. It says there, L'man yizamercha chavod, in order that I should sing your honor, v'lo yidom, and I shall not be silent, Hashem Elokai li'olam odeka, Hashem my God, I will forever give thanks to you. So here it says two things. It says, L'man yizamercha, I should sing to you, praise you, your honor. V'lo yidom, and he shall not be silent. So it's two things: praise you in the daytime, and also not be silent at night. And again, this chapter it says that it's also I praise to you because I was poor, I was broken, and you and my enemies weren't able to defeat me. Again, is darshaned about, is learned out to be about the story of Purim, the miracle of Purim, and so what we're saying is I shall yizamercha chavod, I should sing your honor, meaning read the Megillah. That's the declaration of the honor of Hashem that He saved us during the daytime of Purim, and also lo yidom, and I won't be silent at night. I'll read it as well. Okay. Now the Gemara goes back to discuss the Mishnah. So the Mishnah had said that, generally speaking, unwalled cities read on the 14th. Ella shakfarim makdim liyom haknisa. But the villages can read early on the Yom HaKnisa, on the day that they go into town. So the day of assembly. So Amar Reb Chanina, Reb Chanina said, Chachamim yikilu al kfarim lios makdimin liyom haknisa. The Chachamim were lenient that the Kfarim, the people of the villages, can read early on Yom HaKnisa, on the day that they're coming in anyways, in order that they should provide food and water to their brethren in the larger cities. So just to review, right, the Mishnah had said, if Purim, the 14th, falls out on what order did it go in? It started with Monday. So if it falls out on Monday, so then that's a day that they're going anyways on Mondays and Thursdays. So everybody would read on Monday the 14th. If the 14th is a Tuesday or a Wednesday, so then the Kfarim, the people of the villages, would still read on Monday, and the people in the larger cities would read on Tuesday or Wednesday, whichever one is the 14th. If the 14th is the Thursday, then everybody reads on that Thursday, because that's another day that they're coming into town anyways. If it's a Friday, so then the people of the cities read on the 14th on Friday, and the villages would go back to the 13th, which is the Thursday. Okay, so our Gemara though is saying that we were lenient, or the Chachamim were lenient on the villagers that they could read early. Why? So that they can provide food and water for their brethren in the larger cities. In other words, it sounds like that they should be available on that they should be available to provide for the people of the city on Purim itself, whenever Purim is, might fall out. So the Gemara says, and we have to still understand how this will work. L'meimra ditakanta dikrachinave. Right, top of the next page of Daled Amud Beis. It sounds like the reason why the villagers read early is for the benefit of the people of the cities, that the villagers should be available to provide for them on Purim itself. So ask the Gemara, Vatanan, but how could that be? We learned in the Mishnah, Chalios B'Sheni, that if the 14th falls out on Monday, Kfarim Vayaris Gedolos Karim Bobayam. Both the villagers and the people in the larger cities read that day. V'imisa, and if it's true, like we're saying that we want the villagers to always be available to provide food on Purim, on the 14th, to the people in the larger cities, Likadmu Yom HaKadisa. We should have them read on the previous market day, on Thursday. If the 14th is Monday, but we always want the villagers to be available to provide to the city dwellers on the 14th, on Purim itself, then in that situation we should tell them they read all the way back on Thursday, and then they'll be available on Purim itself. But we don't say that. We say they both read on Monday. So it sounds like it's not for the benefit of the people of the city. So the Gemara says, no, that is different, Havulu Asara, because then, if we send them all the way back to Thursday, that would mean they're reading on the 10th. Vasara lo takina rabban, and that wasn't part of the takana, of the enactment of the rabbis. They never said one can read on the 10th, and therefore in that situation we're stuck, and they just have to read the same day, on the same market day. That's the day they're coming anyways. And okay, on years that Purim falls out on Monday, it won't work out for them to provide, but to be available to provide food and water, but otherwise, other years it could work out. Ask the Gemara, Tashma, but come and listen. The Mishnah also says, Chalios b'chamish, if the 14th is a Thursday, Kfarim v'yaros gedolos karim bo bayom. Both the villages and the big cities read on that Thursday, on that same day. V'misang, if it's true that the whole reason why we let them read early is they could be available on the 14th to provide food and water to the people of the larger city, then they should go back and read on the previous market day, on Monday, or court day, whatever the reason they're coming on Mondays and Thursdays, they should go back and read on Monday, because it's the 11th, and the 11th is part of the takana. There are cases, if the 14th falls out on a Sunday, then the villages read on Thursday, which in that case, if Sunday is the 14th, Thursday would be the 11th. And that was part of the Mishnah. The Mishnah said the 11th is okay. So even when Purim is on a Thursday, if Thursday is the 14th, they should read on the 11th, on Monday. And what's wrong with that? But that's not what it says. It says they read on that same day. So it sounds like the purpose of this takana, this enactment that they can read early, is not for the benefit of the city dwellers. It's for some other reason. So we say no. Again, we say, Miyom HaKnisa Liyom HaKnisa lo dachinan. No, we don't push them from one market day to the other. We don't say, if they're coming anyways on a market day, well, you read it on the other market day. And really we see that, right? The question is why? And the answer is, I don't know. But we see that from the fact that the rabbis, this is what the Turi Evan says, from the fact that the rabbis did not include the 10th, like we discussed in the Gemara's previous question. So clearly the rabbis just didn't want to push them off to the previous market day. So we see that from there. So from the fact that if Purim is on a Monday, we don't push them back to Thursday because it's the 10th. But so what? What you see though is that they just don't, the rabbis don't push you from one market day to the other, one day of assembly to the other. So same thing with Thursday. If Purim is Thursday, they don't push you back to Monday. They don't push them back to Monday from one day of assembly to the other. But otherwise we do, and it's for the purpose of being available to service the people of the cities on Purim itself. That's what we can still maintain. So the Gemara asks, Tashma, but come and listen. Rabbi Yehuda said, a Masai, when do we say that they read early? in a place where they would normally come into town on Monday and Thursday. So then, when they're in town anyways, we say that they can read then. But if you live in a village that you don't go into town, into the big city on Monday and Thursday, so then we said they don't read early, they read on the proper time, and we say just come into town on the 14th. We don't tell them to come in early, we tell them to come in on the 14th. And if it was true, like we thought, that the whole purpose of having them coming early is for the benefit of the large cities, that they can be available to provide food, because this village doesn't usually come in on Mondays and Thursdays, we're going to cause the city dwellers to lose out? No, it shouldn't make a difference what this village does. If we want the villagers to be able to provide food and water to the city, so it should be standardized, and they should always have to do it. Whenever it falls out in this manner, that Purim is that the 14th is any day but Monday and Thursday at least, then we like the villagers to be available to provide for them. We should say you have to come in on Monday and Thursday and hear the Megillah then, and that way you'll be available to provide on whenever Purim is. But we don't tell them that. So it seems, says the Gemara, that must not be what it's about. It must not be so that they're available to provide food on Monday and Thursday. It must be for a different reason. Not on Monday and Thursday. It must not be that they should be available to provide food on the 14th. It must be for a different reason. So rather say, rather say, the reason why we let them read on the market day is not in order that they should be able to provide food, but it's because they do provide food and water to their brethren. And because they give this benefit to the brethren, so the rabbis wanted to kind of ease their situation and not make them come back a second time. And or maybe they wouldn't come back a second time. So the rabbi said, since you always come in on Monday and Thursday, you come into town on Monday and Thursday anyways to provide food and water to your brethren, so rather than make you come back a second time, we'll say, we're going to reward you for this, you're coming, you're doing a favor, for everybody, so you could just read the Megillah today, and we're not going to make you come back another time. Or you can also look at it, if we would make you come back a different day to hear the Megillah, so then they might not come on the day that they normally provide food. So this way, it's just simpler and smoother that we say, okay, you come on Mondays and Thursdays to provide food. We're very appreciative, the rabbis say, and therefore you can just hear the Megillah that day, and we don't require you to come another day. And that's why it's only a town, it's only a village that normally comes. So if they normally come, we say, okay, you can just read on the day that you come. But if you don't normally come on Monday and Thursday, so then you have to hear the Megillah on the normal day, the 14th, whatever day that might be, and come into town on that day to hear the Megillah. Now, that brings us to the end of the Amud. I just want to make one point. If we go back to the beginning on Daf Beis Amar Aleph, there was something that was a little confusing, and this gives us a little bit more clarity, which is that when the Gemara asked, the first thing the Gemara asked, way back on Beis Amar Aleph, it said, Megillah Nikris Biyur Aleph. The Megillah is read on the 11th. And it said, Minalan. It said, from where do we know this? And the Gemara said, Kitiba'inan Lamemar Lekaman. What do you mean? It said, Minalan, from where do we know? What do you mean? We're going to say later, Chacham Mikila al Kfar Muyas Makdim Liyam HaKnisa. The rabbis were lenient on the villagers to let them come in on the day of assembly, Kidei Shisafku Mayim Mazan Achim Shebekrachim, in order that they should provide food. So the Gemara was asking, what do you mean, where do we know? The rabbis enacted it. The Gemara ended up saying, the question was, well, the rabbis can't enact something unless the Achik Nesa Gadola, the man of the Great Assembly, had enacted it. Because you can't change what they enacted. It must be that they enacted it and that they hinted to the Megillah, and where's the hint in the Megillah? But the way the Gemara quoted it is what we originally thought today. which is that it's that they're coming in Kedei She'isafku Mayim, in order to provide, and that it's for the benefit of the city dwellers. That's what it makes it sound like, and that's how Rashi explained it there. And Rashi said there, so they should be available on Purim to provide food. So the Gemara was quoting really the Havamina, the original assumption of our Gemara, and that's how Rashi explained it, which leads us to certain questions like we had today, and to other questions. So at the time it was kind of hard to understand why Rashi says that, but he's really just explaining the Gemara the way it quotes it, because the Gemara is really quoting what's the Havamina, we originally thought today, which is that the villagers read early in order that they should be able to provide food, and but the conclusion of the Gemara really is that the rabbis said they can read early, not in order to be able to provide food, not so that they should be available on Purim to provide food. We don't make them come back on the 14th to provide food, but rather it's since they provide food and they come into town on Mondays and Thursdays and they provide food, so we wanted to make it easier for them and not require them to come back a second time, or they may not come back a second time. They would maybe only come on Purim and then not provide food. So because of that, we allow them to read early.